spoiler alert. Spoiler alert time. It's spoiler alert time.
Yeah, so let's go ahead. I don't think we can talk much more about the movie without going into spoilers. So let's go ahead and roll the spoiler alert. From this point forward, we are no holds barred. If you've not watched the movie, please go ahead and put us on pause and go watch the movie and come back and watch it, because otherwise we will spoil the movie.
You can't blame us for anything from here on out. We've made it very clear.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you already ruined Chinatown, so why not this one too? But
I didn't ruin Chinatown.
All right, so
you did ruin Chinatown. I haven't seen it.
No, you have you have no idea. If you watch that, you have no idea where that movie ends up. But anyway, yeah. So the spoilers. Right. So like, let's get into the specific nitty gritty. Like, there was a line I have to say when I was watching this. I thought about you, Tom, because there was a line, and I'm probably going to paraphrase it here, and you might even know what I'm talking about already. There was a line in the movie when they go into that camp and they like kill literally everybody in that camp.
I love that scene.
Like, yeah, I'm sure you
love that scene.
But so it's like John Cena and Idris Elba are basically like having a pissing contest of like who can like kill people, like
do each other.
Cool, yeah. And at the end of it, there's that moment where they and you might remember better than me, but there's that line where they have that exchange about how like it looked really dope or whatever, and Idris Elba's just like, Idris Elba's just like, fuck, he's right, it is dope. And I was like, that is a Tom line if I've ever heard it. Like, I just imagined you laughing your ass off at that, because I'm like, if Tom made this movie, that is a line that he would put in that movie, because that is a Tom
there would be so
moment.
Much infamous. That would, yes. There's two lines that are flat out lines. That I'm glad you thought of me when you saw it.
Yeah, that was literally the first thing that popped into my head. I was like, I bet Tom loved that part.
Because I love that line, and then my other line that is like hands down like one of my favorite ones in there was Peacemakers.
Oh God,
when
please don't.
She said, I know you hate it. I know you hate it. And she's like, well, why are you doing this to me? He said, because I'm thorough. And I was like, that is so
that was
the
good.
line
that was good.
I thought, because it like, the thing for me was this: if you're like a pro wrestling fan, right? It's what John Cena represented for his time as a pro wrestler. He was the poster boy. He was the company man. He was the guy that when he walked out there, he was never going to say a single thing that Vince McMahon didn't want him to say.
Right.
Even if he knew where the fans were, he was going to pull them back like sheep right where Vince wanted them. He's going to do exactly what Vince wanted. So when he stood there, I knew he was, I already knew. I mean, if you know, what's her name? Amanda Waller, you knew there was somebody there with an ulterior motive.
Yes.
I already was thinking to myself, it's definitely Peacemaker, because John Cena's a company man. She picked him out.
Very
so
true.
when he said, and he looked at it, because I'm thorough, I said, there is never a line that has more defined John Cena to me than that right there. I'm thorough. And then he was like, yeah, I'll kill this chick, because I was told to.
Yeah. No, that is 100% right. Well, I'm interested to know from Will's perspective, since we're in the spoiler part, like, what did you like about it?
Yeah.
Since you talked about things you didn't like, I'm curious I'm sure you found something to like about it while you watched it. I would imagine.
Yeah. What did you like, man? You can't hate it. There was too much good there. Look at it. He's struggling though.
I am, because you guys are expounding love on Peacemaker, the character that killed Colonel Rick Flag, and I cannot abide by that.
Oh yeah, no, he was horrible, bro. He was horrible.
No, I mean, John Cena's total villain, but like, I loved it.
Yeah, I did.
So there is one character that I actually liked a lot, and that was King Shark. I thought he was fun.
How could you not? Like, how could you not?
I thought some of the one-liners that John Cena kept dropping, the one about the bag of dicks on the beach. I mean, that was all like, right.
That's also very Cena. And it's also very Cena. Like, that's something I feel like Cena would say.
Yeah. And I did love being able to see Starro on screen for the first time ever.
That was pretty great. And I honestly didn't expect to get that until I think it was like actually, there was one trailer where they had it there, and I said, are they going to put Starro in the movie? Starro's in the movie? And I was kind of surprised.
I saw a still production
Uh-huh.
still where there was a reflection in someone's glasses or something, and you could see someone lying on the ground with a starfish on his face. And that's when I knew Starro was coming in. The problem is they made Starro into a big Stay Puft Marshmallow Man from Ghostbusters, and that's where they lost me because now Starro is badass. If you know the history of Starro, he was the first
see,
one.
I don't. So I liked it because I have no clue what the history of
Is
it is.
Starro not badass in this movie?
No, he was a Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. He was dancing around.
He was big,
but big guy, right? But Starro was.
I will not let you sit here
and
and besmirch the good goddamn name of the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. All right, I love Ghostbusters.
That's fair, Nick. That's fair, Nick.
Sustained.
Look, I'm just saying. No, look, and from the comic book perspective, I get it because admittedly, I know nothing about the Suicide Squad comics. But I was like, it kind of reminded me of the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man a little bit, so I agree with you. But I liked it. But I also thought, like with the starfish, I was like, this kind of reminds me of like I remember when Watchmen came out, and I had read Watchmen, so I was familiar with the source material, and I was like, and of course we didn't get the giant squid at the end. I was like, this for me is kind of my giant squid moment that I never got in Watchmen. There's like this random gigantic starfish that's like fucking everybody up, and I love it. Like, it's hilarious.
Y'all gotta let that giant squid go.
Well, if you want to see the giant squid, watch the Watchmen TV show on HBO.
I do need to do that.
They do have the giant squid in there. It's a great. Here's my thing. Let me just tell you about the giant squid real quick. Okay. The Watchmen TV show is fantastic, but if there's anything that movie or that show proved to me about the giant squid, it's that it would have felt just as freaking out of place in that movie as it did in the show. Because even in the show, when they try to explain it and make it part of the thing, it still didn't really factor in to the actual plot of the show. It just was a thing that happens that they would bring up that happened previously before. You see what I'm saying? Like, with the dimensional thing and then the teleporting. Well, that's getting into all of it. But my whole point is, my point on it is the actual squid itself. You see what I'm saying? The part where it's the actual squid, that part was not as important to really the storyline. And so I just feel like, again, with Watchmen, I think Watchmen, especially the director's cut, is a freaking masterpiece. Back off. We'll fight.
It's all good. Well, what are some of your other spoiler thoughts, Will, on the movie? From the perspective of someone who didn't particularly enjoy his first viewing.
Because actually, I want to know specifically, Will, Nick asked a really nice question about finding out what you liked. I want you to give me, like, spoiler straight in there. What was it beyond just the fact that, your wonderful wife could not watch it with you anymore?
So remember in the first Suicide Squad movie where they brought in Slipknot just to show that they can blow off his face or his head or whatever?
Yeah.
I kind of felt like the entire first squad got done away with entirely too quickly.
Yes.
Like, just it was a throwaway. Captain Boomerang, the Weasel, all those characters who I thought, this is a good group, man. This is gonna be a pretty kick-ass mission or movie, whatever. Within 12 seconds, all of them except for Rick Flag, I think, was the only guy.
Yeah. And Harley.
And Harley, because they're never going to do her. And by the way, Harley Quinn was not in the original Suicide Squad. She was in the new version, which sucks. So I'm not a huge fan of having Harley Quinn in the Suicide Squad. But there were so many missed opportunities with those characters that they could have. Weasel, he freaking drowns, and he's out of the movie for the whole.
That was actually genuinely kind of sad. That was like the only point during the movie.
Not if you watch the after credit scene.
Well,
you watch the after credit, he's alive.
But I mean, in the moment, though, I know. But in the moment, I'm saying, just when I saw it,
does he still have a bomb in his head?
Yeah,
I guess he would. But I gotta say, I liked that. I liked that they killed all those people off in the beginning. And this is just my take on it. Maybe I'm reading too much into this, but this is how I took it. I took it as like this first team. These are like avatars for people who are in the first movie, and we know that you hated the first movie, so we're killing all these people as like a representation of like, fuck the first movie, they're all gone, and then because after that you get your new team where it's like, here's the people in this movie, which is way better kind of thing.
And I get that, but the good thing about the comic was that the team went in and you genuinely didn't know who was making it out alive. So when this team went in and none of them got out alive,
Mhm.
it's just not as much fun. Right, the stakes are like, okay, well, fuck. Now, and then the second team comes on. Okay, well, all these motherfuckers are probably going to die too. So why should I get invested in these characters?
That was actually kind of perfect.
Right?
That's what I loved about it.
Well, but
Because
then
here's the thing.
if you fall in love with a character, then you've got stakes, and then it
How
really
did you
affects you.
fall in love with any of these characters? They were in the movie for 10 minutes.
Dude, from reading Captain Boomerang comics from my entire childhood. I mean, Captain
Right.
Boomerang died. That was the biggest one.
It was the first off, pause. I'm sorry, Nick. Nick, I'm sorry. You're sitting over here thinking to yourself, who the hell is Captain Boomerang, right?
Yeah,
Because
of
I
course.
only know him from the crappy, because he's a dirty casual.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Let me tell you, as someone who is a comic book fan, no one cares about Captain Boomerang. Okay, here's the thing. If anybody cared about Captain Boomerang, Jai Courtney would still have a career. My point is getting to, okay? There's a reason why he was specifically on that squad to die. If there was anything vital about Captain Boomerang that they could sell this movie on, he would have survived the first one just like Rick Flag and Harley Quinn did. And what I love is the idea that you just pointed out. You said the thing about reading the comic was like you never know if they're going to make it out alive. Well, when you're following this entire squad and you only see this squad and you see Rick Flag from the last movie and you see Harley Quinn from the last movie and you see Captain Boomerang from last movie, this is the Suicide Squad.
Mhm.
And then when they all die almost immediately, with the exception of those two, for me, that created exactly what you're saying, was the fact that, oh my God, these guys could be gone at any minute.
Yeah.
So like you said, well, like your whole thing was, how am I supposed to invest in these characters if I know they could be gone any minute? I was like, that's exactly the feeling you said you wanted from the comic.
So I would agree with you, except for the fact that when all of them die in 12 seconds, there's no drama there, right? At least if you're going to kill off Captain Boomerang, like kill him off and then have the rest of them survive, and then they're like stakes. Okay, then they go back in, and then someone else maybe gets really. The point is, if they're all going to die in 12 seconds.
That's the only reason they were there. I don't understand how anybody didn't know that going in. Because I actually called this like a wrestling match like months ago. Okay, when they were walking out on the thing, I said,
I'll tell you why. Because in the comics, routinely, this entire team would go in and like 3 or 4 of them would die, and then the rest of them would come back, and then they'd go out on another suicide mission, and they just restock the supplies of villains, and then some other people would die, and but there was always a core group that you were worried, and inevitably 1 or 2 of that core group would die. But there's returning characters.
What happened?
No, all die at the same time. It doesn't.
That's exactly no. They didn't all die because your core group, Rick Flag and Harley, who we can sell this movie on, live so that they can get mixed with more villains that we threw in later on the other side of the island.
The only villain that survived was Harley Quinn. She's the only one, and it didn't play for me because there was no anticipation, there was no drama, there was no oh my God, I'm worried because oh crap, they all died. Like it's all done.
Well, I'll give you this. I didn't read a lot of suicide comics itself,
but
I fell more in love with
story.
Will, don't do that. You and I both know there are no Suicide Squad graphic novels.
You're probably right.
Okay.
You're probably right.
Okay, but the thing was for me was I got introduced to the Suicide Squad, and it is actually my favorite episode of Justice League Unlimited when they break into the Watchtower and everything there, because it had never crossed my mind before, because that episode actually plays out like a heist movie, kind of like Ocean's 11, and the idea of supervillains doing a heist and everything there, stealing from the Justice League. Like that was like a really cool idea. So that's how I got into the idea of the Suicide Squad and following there. But here's the thing. In every single animated version of the Suicide Squad, there is a whiplash. And by that, I mean there's one person who goes out there and tries to ignore Amanda Waller. In one episode, in one thing I saw, I believe it was actually King Shark himself, definitely KG Beast before, but they'll walk off and decide they're not going to do what Amanda Waller said, and this is how we showed them by boom, here's the bomb, right? But instead of that, so I'm used to someone in the Suicide Squad dying very early on, immediately. But when I saw the cast list of how many people were in this movie and how many of them were playing these roles, I immediately said, a bunch of these people are going to die really early on in this movie, right off the bat. And then even the way it was done, though, kind of bait and switched me in a way I more appreciate it, because I knew them dying was predictable for me. The idea that the other team had been sent separately, because I thought they were just going to send another team like next week, not they sent two.
Right. And that's what I thought too. But remember like the slasher movies, Friday the 13th, Halloween, all those movies where one by one they get taken out, and the stress, the anticipation is what keeps you on the edge of your toes. Is that one by one, you don't know which one's going to go next. That's kind of what I was hoping for. Not a full on boom, you're dead.
And I agree with that. I agree with that in the context of those films. For this one, because I think part of the fundamental issue, or at least for you, Will, I think is because you're coming from the comic books. Like, because I knew nothing about the comic books, but I knew a lot about the first movie. I knew how I felt about the first movie. And like, to me, this movie was kind of, I mean, the movie is the movie, and it's like, like I said, I think that was also their intent with that scene. I mean, I could be reading too much into it, but to me, it was like, that was just them saying, hey, the first movie sucked. Here's our visual representation of it. And for me, it worked because all I know is the movies. And I did think the first movie sucked. So I was like, yeah, good. Kill those people. I don't care about these people.
I honestly don't think that's what James Gunn was doing, because he's I don't know if there's one thing you noticed from this movie, and if you've seen Super or anything there, he's a pretty on the nose guy when he's making a reference to something. So I don't know. I think it would have been more obvious. Although I guess maybe that could be it. The fact that Captain Boomerang was on the team and died, and then the two viable stars you had from it, you kept.
Well, that was the other thing about this movie that I thought. Because Harley survived, and the other, like, they were the only ones that were kept. So it was like
her and Flag. Yeah. So you might actually be on to something there, Nick. But my thing that I really thought was weird was that this movie wouldn't just honestly just be the sequel that it was saying. Because the one thing was this: once the movie starts and you actually get into the movie, it's quite obvious that it's a sequel. You see what I'm saying? Whereas before, a lot of people were always kind of questioning: is it a sequel? Is it a remake? It's like a sequel remake.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was saying earlier. It's a combination. It's like a hybrid.
Yeah, in a way that I think they lost people on that, because there were some people wanted a sequel. People who really wanted a sequel but thought this was a remake, they probably weren't that interested in seeing the movie, and that's probably part of why it's considered more of a bomb and everything, along with COVID and all the other problems that they've got. And then I think people who want it, they did consider it a bomb. It's considered a box office bomb
because of
almost unfairly in a way.
Well, because it's on HBO Max. Because I guess that's where most people watched it. That's where I watched it. It was on HBO Max.
That's where most people. I watched it twice on HBO Max. So I'm like,
you showed them.
Yeah, here's my thing. A lot of people, I know that the movie theater industry hates on HBO Max for their day-and-day releases and everything. I have to say, I really appreciated that as a consumer. There was nothing that made me more. I was already going to get HBO Max, but that definitely made it. I probably would have dropped it by now if it weren't for that, to be quite honest. Once I got the Snyder Cut and everything, and I was pretty much. They haven't really released a whole lot of just great HBO Max content that isn't connected to their day-and-day releases and everything as well, from my liking. But I appreciated it having to stay home and everything, so I really liked it. But I think that really did hurt their box office a lot.
Oh, I'm sure it did.
But I think there was a lot of things that hurt their box office. I think WB needs to actually recognize that they might have a little bit of an issue with their fan base, because I think they're leaning towards having a broken franchise with the DC universe.
Oh yeah.
Because here's their problem. Say what you will for Snyder Cut fans and the Snyder people and everything there, but they're honestly a much more sizable group than what people probably thought. That being said, they're not big enough to really take on the whole fandom itself to be depended on for the entire universe, right?
No.
But they've also felt so burned by this company and this franchise as it is, they're not really giving any chances to the new stuff.
That's
Okay.
because they gave the reins to a guy who didn't understand the characters he was doing.
I wait.
No, we're going to
Which
fight.
one are we talking about
No,
now?
we're going to fight. We're going to fight.
I know you're talking about Snyder.
Yes, I am.
But okay, so you're not talking about James. But that's not the part I'm talking about. What I'm talking about, that's more of a subjective thing.
No,
What I'm talking about is more the
objective.
fans.
No. The proof is up on the screen.
More what I'm talking about is more specifically the fans. The people who are Snyder fans, there's a lot of them, okay? And there's enough of them that they're becoming a problem in the sense that, hey, we wanted this thing and we vocally really want this thing, and when people as fans come and tell you we really vocally want this and you say no, okay, and you piss off enough of them, you don't even need to piss off all of them. But let's just say 50% of the Snyder fans are out. Okay? Just 50% of them. You get half of them back, you still got yourself a problem. You see what I'm saying? Because you've got these other people who are there, and there's a lot of people who just didn't want any of the Snyder stuff, right? But there's not enough of them to make up what you need as well to be a box office draw. But the thing is, I really, really enjoyed the Suicide Squad. I think they have a good thing there with what James Gunn did. I really hope that the Peacemaker series does well on HBO Max.
So I will say when I saw the movie and I saw at first that Peacemaker had died, I was like, I'm so not watching that series. I can't stand prequels. I can't do it.
Right.
Can't do it. But then, lo and behold, okay, now you got my attention again.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat with you. I was not interested in the prequel series. I didn't want to root for this guy that I know ends up being, this horrible person. You've got a better chance of giving me the horrible person and then convincing me down the line, like, hey, dude, you're horrible, but, I still care about what you're doing for whatever reason. Right. This is cool.
And in the comics, Peacemaker was a whack job, just like he was in the movie. So that might be interesting. But we'll see.
I hope they play more into his helmet though, because that thing has always been just like weird.
And that's the thing, his helmet. The Peacemaker never took off his helmet. That's why I'm saying that when we talk about John Cena and the thing,
that was one of those things.
Right. So if John Cena has to have his face shown, he's not the thing. Because just like Judge Dredd and
every
Stallone,
actor.
When Stallone, what's his face? Urban.
He did it.
He did not. He kept his helmet the entire time. He was committed to the character. Right. So if he's committed to the character, Peacemaker, he never takes on helmet off.
And he was a much better.
Well, look, if there's anything that us wrestling fans know about John Cena, he is committed to the character.
Yeah.
He's committed to the character, but he's also committed to his image and that money. And I think that John Cena is going to need you to see and know that he's in this movie.
I mean, the dude wore the costume all over he stole it and was wearing it when he didn't even have to wear it. He's very committed.
My thing is with that character, what Will's pointing out, which I will give him, Peacemaker never took the helmet off. It was like a weird thing with him,
right?
About this helmet, like when he would become Peacemaker, because he, you know how DC is. I know you're a casual, so you don't understand the secret identities. So in Marvel, they it's almost like nobody has secret identity. Everybody knows who everybody is for the most part and everything. Whereas in DC, like in the actual everybody had secret identities. And Peacemaker actually comes from Carlton Comics, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep,
Carlton. And so he does have a secret identity thing. So it was always a big thing with his mask, his helmet being on. Now, the one thing that I guess you could storyline give them that makes sense here is that he's already in jail. Everybody would already know who he is anyway. Mm-hmm. But it still was kind of a weird, like I said, when I said that a Peacemaker had a weird connection to his helmet, he's connected to that helmet, man.
But it went much further than just the fact that he was hiding a secret identity. Like his helmet was
his thing, his
but
powers.
like he talked to it like it was an entity. It was another character,
Yeah.
and they didn't use that in the movie at all.
Yeah, because he was kind of crazy. Peacemaker has a screw loose in the comics. Okay,
Yeah, for sure.
And obviously John Cena has a screw loose in this movie, but it's more of the violent and more of the violence type, more of the hey, I'm a bad guy kind of thing. Whereas there are parts of that are definitely in the Peacemaker comic and everything, but he's more kind of on the lines of Moon Knight. Like he's insane. There's
Right.
something wrong in there.
Totally. Yeah, he represented that crazy over the top like libertarian,
Yeah.
you tear my guns from my cold dead body kind of militaristic kind of guy, and it was a take on that, right? And it was really interesting because they had a lot of commentary with the character, which they James Gunn kind of, I don't want to say the word ruined because I don't want to hurt your feelings, but
I don't think it was one movie and there was a billion characters and he's got an entire series that James Gunn also did. Let's give him a time.
Crickets, just abject silence.
All right. Well, any last minute words of wisdom you guys want to impart on this movie, because we've run quite a bit over.
Yeah, you got some editing to do.
That's fine. I mean, it's good. I mean, like if you're inclined to watch, I mean, it's violent. It's it's rated R. You know that going in. But I mean, if you're inclined to watch a movie like this, I recommend it. I think it's fun. If you saw the first one and did not like it, I think you'll probably like this one better. If you saw the first one and liked it, I would suggest you go see a doctor. But that's I mean, I recommend it overall. Yeah, I'd recommend people see it.
It's because Jared Leto's in it, isn't it?
That is a conversation for another time. But don't get me don't
get
me started on Jared Leto.
That would get yes. How I hate him. Let me count the ways.
All right. Well, so the consensus is generally, I have heard most people have said that they really liked it. I know I'm in the minority, and I will watch it again and report back, because the likelihood that I'll like it is probably fairly high, knowing now what I'm going into. So. All right. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me about movies. It's what I love to do the most, and this was fun.
Yeah, I had a good time. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, same.
And I'm really excited to hear what you think when you get a chance to watch Suicide Squad again with fresh eyes.
Yeah. So you're talking about the Suicide Squad, right?
Not the Suicide Squad. Not Suicide Squad.
Right. Thanks for clarifying. Yeah.
Yes.